Hello and welcome to this string tutorial in JavaScript. A string is one of the most widely used data types in programming, and we have a lot of manipulations we can use on a string. So since we have a lot of manipulations, this video will come in parts. In this particular part, a few of the manipulations will be introduced. Then the second part will take in the form of other manipulations as well. So it's not going to be that too long so that it doesn't become that boring. I will be using my Windows operating system, Windows 10, for this tutorial, and equally the Google Chrome's developer tools for this tutorial. So without wasting much of your time, let's get into this video. To get to the developer tools, you can right click and go for inspect, or you can use these three dots. Go to these three dots up here, navigate to more tools, then from more tools navigate to developer tools. So here we go. What we are looking for is sources. Go for sources. Then under here you will see these two arrows. Click on that two arrows, navigate to snippets, then just right click on new snippet and click on create new snippet. Let me give it index.js. Yep. So what is a string then? A string being a sequence of one or more characters, may consist of letters, numbers, or symbols. So let's go ahead and declare a variable that will hold the value, a value, and that value will be a string. So let name equals John. As you can see, the value is enclosed in quotes. So we enclose a string in either double quotes or single quotes. Without that, is no longer a string. So you can see we enclose this in double quotes. So John is our string, and that is the value that this variable name holds. Then if we alert name, that will give us John. So let's alert name. Let's run this and see what we get. So John, that is it. So like I said previously, a string is a sequence of one or more characters, and it may consist of letters, numbers, or symbols. So if we change this to address, then we can have something like number 10 or number 20 King Street, something like that. Number 20 Kings Street. You see? So you see we have a number included in that. Let's go back to John. So here, before we go into this tutorial proper, there are three terms you should understand. The first term is iterable. The second one is indexing, and the last, slicing. So you must understand these three terms, what they mean and how they work, before you can follow this tutorial properly. So here What is an iterable? Any object that is capable, any object that is capable of returning its members one at a time is what an iterable. Any object that is capable of returning its members one at a time is an iterable. So a string is an iterable in the sense that we can get hold of any character from this string and make use of it. We can get hold of any character. We can get hold of 2 characters, 3 characters, more than 3, or 1 character and make use of it. Since we can do that, therefore, a string is said to be an iterable. So how do we get hold of 1 character from this string? Because this string, we have series of characters or elements, J, O, H, and N. How do we get hold of just 1 element from this string, or 2 or 3? We get hold of that by using the slice method. But before you understand what is or how slice method works, you should first of all understand how indexing works in programming. So what then is indexing? By indexing, we refer to an element of an iterable. Listen, an element. We refer to an element of an iterable. Here we have elements, J, O, H, N. But an element means just 1 character in that string. So by indexing, we refer to an element, let's say J, which is of this iterable, by its position within this iterable. So that means J, indexing in programming starts with the numerical value 0. It starts with the numerical value 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and name them. So in our own case, or always the first character or the first element within an iterable, we take the numerical value 0. So here, John is an iterable. The first element within this iterable is what? J. And J, we take the numerical value of 0. O, we take the numerical value of 1. H, we take the numerical value of 2. N, we take the numerical value of 3. So that is how indexing works in programming. So in order to get hold of 1 or more elements within this iterable, we have to do what? Use their indices. Remember, an index is, or let's say index is the singular form of what? Indices. So in order to apply the slice method, we have to use what? Indices, not an index. So what then is slicing? Slicing means getting a subset of elements from an iterable based on their indices. You get a subset. Let's say JO, you get 2 elements from this iterable. Then JO is a subset of this what? Iterable. Then if you want to get hold of these 2 elements, you have to use their indices to get hold of them. That is what slicing means. Getting a subset of elements from an iterable based on their indices. John is an iterable because we can get hold of its elements 1 at a time. Then if you can get a subset of these elements of John, where we have J, O, H, N, based on their indices 0, 1, 2, 3, that is slicing. So let's put this in action. So remember, indexing in programming, when we have an iterable, the first element or the first character in that iterable should take the numerical value 0. The second character will take the numerical value 1. The third character will take the numerical value 2. The fourth character will take the numerical value 3. So how do we get hold of j, only j? So we can use alert, then name dot slice. Using the slice method, we have to specify the starting point and the ending point, but the result will always exclude the ending point. The result will always exclude the ending points, but we have to specify the starting point and the ending point. So let's get hold of j. If you want to get hold of j, we have to use the index. We have to use its index, because that is what indexing means, referring to an element of an iterable by its position within the iterable. So the position of j within this iterable John is what? 0. It takes the numerical value 0. So we have 0, then comma, then 0 is the starting point. Then the ending point will be, because we want to get only j, will be the next, which is O, and O has a numerical value 1. So from 0 to 1, from 0 all the way to 1, but excluding any element that holds that numerical value, the endpoint numerical value. It will always exclude that element or that character that holds that numerical value of the endpoint. So that means we have to start from j all the way to O, but excluding O. So let's run this and see what we get. We have John alerted, then what do we get? We get j. You can see it. So what about if we want to get hold of what? jo? That means we have to start from j again, from the numerical value of j, which is 0, all the way to h, but excluding h, and h takes the numerical value 2. So that means we have to start from j all the way to h, but excluding h, because h takes the numerical value 2. So if we run this again, let's see what we get. We get jo. Okay, what about getting oh? So in this case, remember the first character takes the numerical value 0, while the second character takes the numerical value 1. That means we have to start from 0 by its index. The index of 0 here is 1, all the way to what? N, because we have to always exclude the end point. The end point will be N, which holds the numerical value 3. From O all the way to N, but excluding N. Always exclude the end point. But you have to include it to calculate. But to print out, we're not gonna print the value. So let's go and run this and see what we get. John, you can see we get OH. So this is one of the manipulations we can exercise on a string. Then what in case, for example, that the user, let's say this is a prompt now, we want to make use of the value. Let's use prompt. Then the user of the application will type his or her name. Type in your name. Okay? So whatever the user enters in this prompt will be the value the variable we hold, the variable name we hold. So let's run this and see what will happen. Type it, your name, John, John. Yeah, we get that John back. But remember, this John, as you see this John here, is a name. And it should start, the first letter should start in capital letter, not in lowercase. So how do we manipulate this string to get our desired output? How do we do that? So to do that, what we have to do is to use slicing as well. So we can do something like this. We have to create another variable. Let's let part of name equals name dot slice in brackets. We start from 0, that we get J for us, all the way to 1. So when we get the first character from this, then we have to change it. So let's get the remaining character, the remaining characters. Let's second part equals name dot slice. So the second part we hold, remember, when we have John, J takes the numerical index 0. Now with this first part, we're gonna get only J. Then with this second part, we have to get from O to N. So in that case, we have to we can do this with I have two methods for this, but let me just show you the simple one that you will understand easily. So we start from index 1 this time around, all the way to, because we have 0, J takes 0, O takes 1, H takes 2, and N takes 3. So we don't have 4, but we can include 4 here. Then it will go all the way from 1 to 4, but excluding 4. If we do that, let's see what we have. So we can alert, let me alert name, and then alert part of, okay, so that I will, let me see what we get. Alert second part. So let's run this. John, we get John, then we get the first slicing, and we get the remaining characters. So we're doing well. So how do we do it now? If a user types in the name with the first character in lowercase, how do we change that lowercase? Let's say we want to store that in our database and change that lowercase to uppercase. Simple. So we have gotten two things here. What you have to do is to we have to alert, let's see, we have to alert, let me comment this part out. So we have to alert something like So let's run this and see. Your name is John. We got it. But remember, you can see we still have this lowercase here. It's not in capital. Then how do we change that? To do that, this value here, when we get the J by slicing the string, we have to convert that to uppercase. So here we can say let first character equals part of name dot to uppercase. So if we do this, let me comment this part out and alert first character. Let's see what we have. Alert first character. Let me comment this part out as well and run this code. Now let's see what we get. John, J-O-H-N, John. You can see we get it is in capital. Is in capital. As you can see, is in capital. As you can see. But if we remove this part, okay? If we remove this part and alert part of name, let's see what we get. Now, without converting it to uppercase, let's see what we get. J-O-H-N. You can see we got the lowercase. We got the lowercase. So now we got the lowercase. So let's do it now. Let's do it now. And let me take this one out. Comment this. Then let parts of name equals name.slice. Then with this we can convert that first letter into a capital letter with this particular part. Then now we have to join this together. Let me show you. So now we have to alert your name is plus first character plus second part. This will do the job for us. Let's go and do that. Capital lowercase J-O-H-N. You can see your name is John in capital, J in capital letter, J in capital letter. So this is one of the manipulations we can exercise on a string. We have a lot of manipulations that I'm not going to be able to cover it in one video, but I will be covering them bit by bit, parts by parts. Part by part, bit by bit. So I don't know if you understood this properly, but if not, try to rewatch this video in order to understand it properly. So let me recap. What is a string? A string is a sequence of what? is a sequence of one or more characters, and it may consist of letters, numbers, or symbols. As you can see, in our own case, whatever the user inputs will be the value that will be attached or that will be bind to the variable name. And since this is a string, we can manipulate it because a string is an iterable. What is an iterable? If an object is capable of returning its members one at a time, then that object is said to be an iterable. In our own case, if we put this back, John, so John is what? John is an iterable, since we can get the members one at a time and make use of it, like what we just did here. So indexing, by indexing, we refer to an element of an iterable by its position within the iterable. So if you want to refer to John or get the value of J from John, J is a member of this John, which is an iterable. So to get a member or a character of a string, we use the position. In our own case, or generally in programming, indexing starts from 0. That means the first character will take the numerical value 0. The second character will take the numerical value 1. The third character will take the numerical value 2, while the next character, as we have here, will take the numerical value 3. So that is how indexing works. To get J, we use the numerical value 0 to get it, as we did here. 0, which is the starting point, 1, which is the end point. But the result will always be like, we always exclude that end point. That end point will always be excluded from the result. What about slicing? Slicing means getting a subset of elements from an iterable based on their indices. So one number is an index. More than one, we have indices because it's a plural form of index. So we can't get a subset. We can't get a subset of these elements with just an index. We get more than one number. It must be more than one number. So that is it for this video. If you want to see more from me concerning a string in JavaScript, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. You will see that red subscribe button below the screen. Click on it, subscribe. Then beside the subscription button, you will see a bell, a notification bell. Click on that bell, click on all, so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be notified to come check it out. Thank you for watching, and God bless.